Hey everybody, this is Roxanne and welcome to White Cotton Quilts. So today's video is going to be about the most frequently asked questions that I get since I'm teaching quilt classes now. And that's going to be how to thread your sewing machine if you're a very new beginner sewer. So that's what this video is going to be about, is how to thread your machine and set it up so that you get automatic success in your project. So stay tuned. Okay, so here is your typical home sewing machine. This is a Janome, and you can see across the top here, you have all of these stitches. You have a selector for these stitches. You have your back tack button right here to go back. And then you also have your stitch. This is gonna select the width of your stitch. And then you have your tension up here. So what you're gonna do, the first thing you're gonna do is, I don't even have this connected to power right now, guys. So there's no power, so we're not gonna have to worry about hurting ourselves. The first thing I want any new sewer to do is I want you to take, and you're gonna look at your foot here, and this one is actually very good. It's got all these little lines on it to tell you where the stitch width is. I always like to set my needle in the either to the right or the center. Usually it's the right position. Once you get that set, I want you to take the hand lever, which is right here, and I want you to turn it so that your needle is in the down position inside your feed dogs. Because what we're going to do is we are going to find where that needle is, and we're going to find the line over here that corresponds with 1/4 of an inch. Now this one, I don't think, no, it really doesn't have one. It's got one for 5/8 and all those other ones, but we want the 1/4 of an inch stitch. So you can do this one of two ways. You can take a measuring tape or a ruler, put the end of it against your needle and measure out 1/4 of an inch. Then what you can see what I did here is we put a piece of washi tape across our little case right here that marks that 1/4 of an inch, so that when you start sewing, you just have to line up your fabric. And I think I got a little piece of fabric here I can show you with. We're going to line up your fabric, hold on, with that edge of that tape, and you should get 1/4 of an inch every time. It's going to be a game changer for you if you are just learning to sew. So we're gonna raise our needle back up to the top position, and you're gonna know it's in the top position because this little hook right here is going to come all the way out, and see, it is a hook. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna thread this machine now. So the first thing, oh, I gotta unthread it because I already had it threaded. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that we have our spool of thread in here. It also has a little stopper to keep it from flying out. These stoppers will come in two sizes. You're either gonna have a small one or big one. We've got the small one on there. And that's so if you have a different size of spool. So the next step you're gonna see, if you look at your machine, a lot of the machines have numbers on them that tell you exactly how to thread. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna have, this is your winder to wind a bobbin with, and we'll touch that later. But it says on number 1, we're going to go down with the thread on number 1. Then when you go down on the thread on number 1, it's gonna go to 2, which was there. Number 3 goes around here. And then you're gonna go up to number 4, which is, you're gonna take it all the way back and hook it in that hook. See? Once you get it in number 4, it's gonna go all the way back down for number 5. And then when you get it down to number 5, you are going to see a little hook right here This screw right here actually holds your needle in, so you don't want to mess with that unless you're changing a needle. But you're going to see a little hook right here. That's to hook your thread in. So we're going to hook our thread into that hook, just like that. And then you thread your needle. So this machine, you can't really see it on the screen, but the needle hole is going front to back. Front to back. So that's how you are going to thread this needle. You're going to put the thread in the front, pull it out the back, and then you are going to put it under your foot heading towards the back. Anytime you cut your thread off and your bobbin thread off, you want to make sure that you take that thread and you put it under your foot and you take it to the back of the machine. If you leave it hanging out the front or to the side or anything like that, it's going to cause knotting underneath your machine or underneath your thread, and you could possibly break a needle. So we want everything to go to the back. So that's how you thread your typical home machine. I will say you want your stitch length to usually be about a 1-ish. Make sure you read if it's got one of these fancy selector things. And like I said, this one has A or B because A means your needle's in the middle, B means it's all the way to the left. So, and then your tension is usually going to be at about a 3. This one is set, I don't know why it's set at 2. You usually want your tension at a 3. So our next step is I'm going to show you how to thread my big machine because it's a little different, but once you see it, you're going to understand it's the same. Okay, so how do we thread this machine? As you can see, there's no real fancy knobs on it other than this is my stitch length selector, and then right here is where I adjust my tension instead of before the tension was adjusted on another knob. And I'll explain this in a minute. So this machine doesn't have really anything fancy on the top except for the bobbin winder, and you're not really going to use that. So to thread this machine, your thread is going to start back here at your spool, and it does have one of those protectors again. Then it's going to go up to here, back down to the machine, and it's got these 3 little holes. I like putting mine through all 3, so it's going to go down, up, back down. And then here's where it's a little different. So make sure when you thread any machine, it doesn't matter if it's this kind or the home machine, that your foot, you got a lever on the back. Where's my lever? I don't think it'll show it. But anyway, so you got your lever on your back. Make sure that your foot is in the up position. When your foot is in the up position, that releases the tension off. There's 2 little discs in here that pinch together when the foot is down. When the foot is up, it releases. And you want them released so that your thread can go down and thread between the discs so that when you put the foot down and you're sewing, you get the right tension on it. So I've got my foot raised and my thread is going down, and it goes around here to go between those tension discs, and then it catches on this spring here and goes back down, hits this hook, goes through this little minder that keeps the thread from bouncing all over the place, goes up here, and see, this bar doesn't have a hook like the other one does. It just has a hole, so you have to thread it through the hole, goes back down into another minder, and then here's my little hook right above the needle. And then this machine has a threader on it, but if I wasn't using the threader, see, my needle hole goes left to right. So that's the way you're gonna thread it, is left to right. And as usual, you can't see it here, but my thread is gonna go down and behind. So that's how you thread a different looking machine. Every sewing machine has those basic principles of where they want the machine to go so that you get proper tension. Always make sure that your thread is going through those tension discs with your foot up. because if you try to do it with your foot down, it's not going to sit right and you're going to end up with bad stitches. So other tips for a beginner out there. If you thread your machine and you start getting big giant loops on the underside of your sewing, that usually means that you have not threaded your machine correctly on the top. That is not a bobbin issue. That's a tension issue on the top. Here's some tricks for correcting your tension issues that 9 times out of 10 is a simple fix. Do not, first thing, start adjusting any tension dials or anything like that. The first thing I want you to do when you have issues like that where your machine is not sewing correctly is unthread the top, rethread, and make sure that you are threading it correctly with that thread between the tension discs like it's supposed to be. 9 times out of 10 with my new sewers, that is the 100% problem right there. Easily fixable. Do not adjust anything on your machine until you've done that. Now, if you've done that and it's still doing bad stitches, then I want you to check your tension dial. Like I said in the previous little segment, your tension dial should be set at like a 3. If it's set at anything higher, you're going to get big giant loops as far as tension. If it's set at anything lower, that means your tension is too tight and your thread is going to try to make your fabric buckle and you're going to get these ripples. So be aware of that. You know, that's step number 2. Step number 3, if it's doing bad stitches, I would automatically change your needle. Sometimes a bad needle, it messes everything up. It could be bent. It could, you know, have nicks in it that you can't see. And so sometimes just change the needle. The next thing I would check, if all of those completely fail and it does not fix your sewing issue, then you can start adjusting your bobbin tension. Now, I'm going to take my bobbin out of my big machine here. So, this is our little bobbin. And when you hold the thread, I got a bobbin in it, but when you hold that thread that's in it, this thing should just drop easily. And I'm going to, I don't like to, but here. I mean, it just falls. That's the tension you want in your sewing machine for good stitches. Now, here's how you adjust that if you need to. So if you need to adjust this tension, say your bobbin either doesn't move at all or it goes too fast, because there is a too fast. You don't want it to just plummet like a rock. You want it to just slowly go down. Mine's actually a little loose because this is a high-speed machine. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get a teeny tiny screwdriver or one that came with your machine. And there's a little screw on the side here that holds, this is a spring right here. There's a screw right here that holds that spring in place that judges your tension on this bobbin. Take a little tiny screwdriver and only turn that, not even a quarter of a turn, just a teeny bit. It doesn't take much. And then try it again. And keep adjusting until you get that where it needs to be. Now, this is for a bobbin casing. Your other machine is a drop-in bobbin. And the drop-in bobbins for the tension is pretty much the same, but you really should not, with a drop-in bobbin, have to mess with that tension at all. Do the first steps I've mentioned first before you attempt to get your booklet out and adjust the drop-in tensions, because those things really don't mess up that often, so you should not have to mess with that. All else fails, if it is a drop-in bobbin, make sure to take it out if you're still getting bad stitches and put it back in, and make sure that you have put that in the correct way. A lot of them, and let me get, sorry about that, guys. So a lot of the drop-in bobbin machines, when you drop the bobbin in, will have a little faceplate like this, and of course we got our washi tape on it. And it shows you how to drop it in and how to thread it the correct way so that it spins the correct way. That's very important. If this bobbin is not spinning the right way, your tension's going to be off. So just so you understand that, as a first-time sewer, that will make you a world of difference. So that is it for this video on how to thread your sewing machine. I hope it helped you and inspired you to get going and sewing and learning to sew. The next video I will do is how to hold your 1/4 inch seam. And how do you even measure that on your machine in the first place? Like I said at the very beginning of this video, I taught my girls how to sew putting a piece of washi tape down on that 1/4 inch, and I'm going to go into more depth on that on the next one. So I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you.